What happens when your offer is accepted to purchase a home? When do you get the keys? What happens next? If you're watching this video, it's because maybe your offer was just accepted to buy a home. And on behalf of our entire team, congratulations. This is the first step of many before you get the keys to your home. Here's Jordan to explain what happens after your offer is accepted.
Once your offer is accepted, you officially enter into your due diligence period, which is typically 10 days, which is pretty standard unless shorter or longer, depending on what was negotiated on your contract. This gives you the opportunity to inspect and investigate the property. You will want to hire a certified, licensed home inspector, a termite inspector, and maybe even a pool, AC, or roof inspector, depending on the condition of the property. You can have the peace of mind that if anything deal-breaking is found during the due diligence period, you can typically cancel and receive your full deposit back. Now, speaking of deposits, you'll have to pay an earnest money deposit to the sellers to show that you are a serious buyer. The deposit is typically 1% of the purchase price, but this could be higher or lower depending on what was negotiated with your offer terms. The title company will reach out to you to arrange your deposit, and this needs to be paid within 3 business days within acceptance, and they offer all types of payment options. You can even pay from your cell phone with your online banking app. The title company holds on to your deposit and it's credited back to you at closing towards your down payment or closing costs. Speaking of title, we're going to have a special guest, Teonne Ogden with Driggs Title, discuss the role of escrow and title and what it all entails. Let's go to Teonne. Okay, everyone, welcome Teonne to part 3 of the video series, The Home Buying Process. This video, we're talking about what you can expect after your offer is accepted and the role that title and escrow plays. Teonne is an escrow officer with Driggs Title. I know she's been doing it a long time. We've been working together for many years. And now, don't get me wrong, there is a ton of good title reps in Las Vegas. I've worked with several of them, but not many of them answer the phone after 5 o'clock. And if I have something that's dire, an emergency, I can call Teonne's cell phone and she might not answer, but she'll call me back within 5 minutes and help me out. She's helped me with investment stuff, traditional buy and sells, family matters. She's been really, really great. So Teonne, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate you being here. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So as Jordan said, my name is Teonne Ogden. I'm with Driggs Title Agency. I've been in the escrow business actually 23 years today.
Wow. Oh, wow. Happy anniversary.
And, thank you. Thank you. Yes. And I'm a Vegas native, and I know that it seems crazy, but I love my job and I love what I do. And I get to work with people like you, Jordan.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, we love working together. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. We're going to go through a lot of questions that I get commonly asked. A lot of people get confused. They don't know what title is. They don't know what escrow is. And I have to explain the process to them. So hopefully you can help alleviate some of those problems and provide some solutions for people here today. So I'm just going to get into it. Let's go through these questions, and they're pretty common. So I believe in your abilities to give great answers in these. Okay. So
I'll
the
do my
first
best.
question, great. The first question I have is, what role does title and escrow play in the real estate transaction?
So basically you can't close a deal without title and escrow. Escrow, basically, in a roundabout way, escrow and title is, I handle the legal documentation, all of the money, that goes in and out of a real estate transaction, and I make sure that everybody gets paid.
Oh, good. That's pretty important. I mean, if you can't transfer money to people, that would be a big problem, right?
Right.
Very good. So you work for a title company, but you do escrow. What's the difference between title and escrow?
So title is basically, we work together. Okay. So I'm an escrow officer and I have a title officer who basically researches the property from many years back. Okay. Right. So title, basically what they do is they pull up a preliminary title report, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure.
Yes.
And it basically lets me know what the title has, what the property has on title, if there's any liens, any encumbrances, homeowners associations, so on and so forth. Myself as an escrow person, I make sure that I am clearing all of these items and I handle all of the paperwork, all of the money, like I said,
Right.
and I am in direct communication. You as a real estate agent and lenders, you guys don't talk to the title department. You always go through me. I handle all of that, go through underwriting, things like that, to make sure that everything is kosher when we close escrow.
Good. Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people understand that there's a difference in all the things that go on behind the scenes. There's a lot that goes on, and a lot of people don't see the stuff, what it takes to get a transaction closed. You know, people say,
Right.
agents are overpaid or whatever, but there's so much stuff that can go sideways in a transaction. And, you know, the realtor, the agent, is kind of like the quarterback throwing the passes around, running the offense, and making sure everything gets done right. And, you know, people don't
That's
really
a great
see that.
analogy, Jordan, because you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. So
Yes.
that was a great explanation. Thank you. All right. So let's go. This is a two-part question. You know, once escrow is opened, a buyer, they need to make a good faith deposit, which is called an earnest money deposit, which is going to be used towards their closing costs or down payment at closing. What is the process of a buyer sending this deposit to Driggs Title? And the follow-up is, we know that wire fraud has been on the rise for years. What steps does Driggs take to prevent wire fraud? So how do they send the money, and how do you guys prevent wire fraud?
Okay, so basically what happens is when Jordan, you and your team send over an RPA, so a real estate purchase agreement,
Right.
you send it over to me, and I then obviously my first question is always requesting the buyer's contact information and the seller's contact information, because myself as an escrow officer, I find it important to make sure that I'm in contact with your clients as well, so they know who I am.
Yes.
What I do when I send, when I receive the buyer's information, the first thing I do is I will email them an introductory and let them know that I'm going to be sending them wiring instructions. This instruction is always going to be a password protected item because wire fraud is on the rise. I always want buyers to call me and confirm these instructions, regardless if it's a password protected document, because hackers are incredibly intelligent and very, very good at hacking into systems, and the best of systems. And so I don't ever want somebody to send because you have a first time home buyer, or somebody is literally putting all of their money into their home that they're trying to purchase. And so I don't ever want somebody to lose their money. So what I do is I email the wiring instructions, let them know it is password protected. I send a second email with that password. And then I also request them to call me to confirm those instructions.
Okay, good. That sounds like a pretty good system to prevent that, because I've been in classes where they say they spoof the emails, they're monitoring your email, and then, hey, there's an escrow and it looks like it comes from the title company and it looks legit, and it's just a different account number and routing number, right?
Yeah, and I do have to say, knock on wood, okay, in my 23 years, I have not had that happen to me. I'm very diligent about making sure that that does not happen, because it's a big fear, and it's happened to some of the best, you know, it really has. And so I don't know if I've been lucky or if I'm just extra cautious. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Well, that's a good system. I appreciate you. Now, when they send their wire now, is it best for them to go into the bank and send the wire? I know you can send it from your home on your phone and mobile apps. I know before you couldn't do that. Now you can go on your Wells Fargo app and type in the routing number and the recipient, and it'll send. What do you recommend they do?
Honestly, my number one recommendation is always going to be to go into your bank.
Yeah,
you have the least amount of chance for fraud to happen, for numbers to not be misconstrued, because it's checked so many times within the bank.
Right.
Now, some people aren't able to do that. Some people are traveling. Some people are out of the country. They don't have a, say, a Nevada State Bank in, you know, New York City, right? And so it is possible to do it that way. But if you can, the best way to do it is to go into your bank. Now, I don't know if it's true, but I'm hearing through the grapevine within my company that we're trying to do like a Zelle or something like that, so it can automatically go that way. But we're trying to figure out if that will work, because lenders need to be able to source the funds to find out where they came from. So we're working on that, you know, the new technology that's coming. But as of right now, going into your bank is definitely the safest surest bet.
Yeah, cool. That's great information. And technology is definitely changing the way we conduct
Mhm.
business. So maybe another
Yep.
time, another video, we can get into the technology and how it's changing our
Yep.
industry and your industry. And I'd love to talk about
Yep.
that. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on because this one's really important. And a lot of people don't understand this. I did not understand this the first couple of years in the business. In school, they don't teach you the right thing. What is title insurance and why is it needed? And what's the difference between lenders and owners title insurance?
Okay, so title insurance, it's basic, it's insurance. I mean, it's in the title, okay? It's kind of funny. Title insurance, it's in the title. You need insurance on your property, okay? You have homeowners insurance that protects you for fire and water damage, et cetera, right? Title insurance is ensuring that that once you close escrow as a buyer, your seller is saying, I promise you that this is the truth, okay? That these are the debts that I have. I'm making sure it's coming out of my proceeds. We're paying this, but not everybody's honest, right? Us as the title department, the title agency, we are ensuring that we have done our research as best as we possibly can. And if for some reason something were to pop up down the road that doesn't belong to your buyer, that we are going to cover that. We are going to obviously go after who, didn't pay the bill, but us as the title agency, we're going to make sure that your property stays free and clear from any liens or encumbrances that aren't yours.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that's the owner's policy.
Mm-hmm.
The lender's policy is also basically ensuring now your lender, right? That no matter what, they are going to be in the first lien position because they want to be paid first.
Right.
They are the largest lien against your property. They want to make sure that they're going to be in the first lien position. And if for some reason they're not, it's up to us to also pay that debt, okay, and keep them in a first lien position. Lender's insurance and owner's insurance is a must. And I know that some people don't want it. Owners' policies, things like that, cash buyers, they don't want it. It's so important. You wouldn't drive around in your car without insurance. Your home is your largest investment.
Right. Yeah.
You want to insure your house.
That's a really, really good explanation of that. And it is very, very important. And I've heard horror stories, I'm sure you have, where people come and want to stake claim on the property and you've heard of cloudy title. And I know that there's some shady title companies out there. And I've had offers on listings where they want to use one of those shady title companies. And I'm like, I would advise we don't use that title company. There could be some issues here. So thanks for explaining that. And that was really, really good. So, okay. So let's move into cash buyers and finance buyers. And, what's the differences in escrow with the cash buyer and finance buyer, and how do you work with the lender to ensure a smooth transaction? Can you kind of break down that process briefly for us?
Sure. Okay, so we'll start off with the easiest one, which is a cash buyer. Cash is probably one of the easiest transactions
it is
that can happen. Okay. I've closed a cash buyer in 3 days.
Wow.
Cash buying, obviously, as a buyer for cash, there aren't any notarized documents. Mm-hmm. You can do everything via DocuSign or e-signatures. Can be, obviously, wire, we say cash, right? Obviously, I can't take, say, $150,000
You don't
in cash.
Take a duffel bag from the from the mattress and bring it in, right?
Yes, I actually had somebody one time ask me that. Oh, so should I just bring the $220,000 in cash? No, sir. Please.
You still got to source it, right? It still has to be sourced.
Right.
It's not the old days.
Yes, exactly. So basically the cash buyers, they're super simple. The process is the same. We still have an earnest money deposit. We still have a preliminary title report. We still have title insurance. It's just a little bit faster because we don't have a financial institution that is loaning the money. Okay. Right. So you're still going to wire your earnest money. You're still going to wire your closing funds. Bada bing, bada boom. And that one's done. As far as a financial institution with buyers that are obtaining a loan, my biggest thing in escrow in all of the years that I've been doing this is communication.
Right.
That's how I maintain a smooth transaction. Constant communication. I do a lot of follow-ups. This is what's happening, what's going on. And if I don't have things, I will say I need this.
Right.
I'm pretty aggressive that way.
Yeah.
I don't like to wait because I don't want to delay closing for you as an agent, your buyer or your seller. People want their money, people want their keys.
Yeah.
So a seller may be purchasing another house, they need those funds. I don't like
Absolutely.
delays.
Absolutely.
So communication for me with a lender is the key.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I love working with you is we always get it done on time and all is well that ends well. And it can be very stressful coming up to that 11th hour. And we just ask our clients to trust us because this is what we do full time for a living.
Yes.
And trust us that we'll get this done for you as long as you do everything we need you to do, right?
Correct. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, I like to tell them.
And I'm very clear about that at the beginning. I'm very clear in my introductory letters that I send both to the buyer and seller that any delay in responding could possibly delay the close of your escrow.
Right.
And so it's very important that when we're requesting these things that we get them in a timely manner, because we obviously want to stay on time. And that's one of the reasons I love working with you is because we always close on time. And I think we've even had a few that we've closed early. So
early is good. Early is good.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I always like to tell my clients, we're in charge of the process, but you're in charge of the decision. So trust us with the process, and we're going to give you the information for you to make your own decisions, right?
Like we said, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, so one question I get asked a lot is prorations. Sometimes we close in the middle of the month and taxes are paid to the end of the quarter, or you got the sewer bill or whatever. How does that all end up working out and what do you guys do to fix that?
This is actually a great question. And I love that you asked this question, Jordan, because prorations are actually very simple, but they're very confusing to people that don't understand what it means. So a proration is basically a per diem rate. Okay. So let's pretend you are the seller.
Yep.
And I am the buyer. You have already prepaid the property taxes. You've prepaid the trash. You've prepaid the homeowners association. Okay. Obviously, it wouldn't be fair for us to close escrow and all of these items are prepaid for the next 2 months.
Right.
For you to just take on that bill, right? And I get it technically for free. A proration is breaking it down to a daily rate. So if you have taxes, and obviously I don't have any specific numbers in front of me. So let's say taxes are $500, you have X amount of days, it's $37 a day times 60 days. That's a lot of money.
Right. Yeah.
So basically what happens is I prorate from the day that we close escrow to the next installment that's due, whether it be taxes, sewer, homeowners association, or trash. Okay.
Cool.
And basically I pay you back. I'm paying you back that daily rate from the day that we close until you've paid it in full.
Right.
And it breaks it down evenly. So it's fair, right? Nobody should have to pay any extra. And that's what it is. It's basically breaking it down to a daily rate and paying you back as the seller from the time that I officially own the house.
Perfect. Okay. No, that's great. That's great information. And I think that clears it up. And thank you so much. We talked about title insurance, but what is a preliminary title report? In the purchase agreement that we use, it states that title has 10 days to provide the buyer with the preliminary title report. What does the prelim tell us?
Okay. Well, I'm going to start by saying it never takes Driggs Title 10 days.
No, it doesn't. I have that. I have that 1 day or less. Yes. I agree.
Yep. Usually within hours, depending, right? So my title department is phenomenal. A preliminary title report, I like to say, is almost like the birth certificate to your property. It lets us know whether taxes are paid current. It lets us know who the owner is, if there's any liens on the property, if there's a homeowners association, if you have a mortgage on the property. It basically goes back usually about 24 months to let us know any title changes, anything like that. Right. That's my job now. Once I get the prelim, I clear the prelim. I know there's a mortgage on the property. I know there's, say, 2 homeowners associations on the property. There's a child support judgment, right. XYZ. I clear all of these items. So when we do close escrow, your buyer has clear title when they officially become the owner.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's good information. All right. Let's here's something that's been happening quite a bit lately in the last couple of years. it's newer technology. What happens if there are liens on the property? Because we know that like solar panels have been really popular, but people finance them, and the finance company or the solar company, depending on who you go through, will put the lien of the remaining balance on the property for, because it's a 20-year term on those solar panels. What happens if there are liens on the property?
Okay, so let's start with let's say there's a child support judgment. Sometimes it's somebody got a new HVAC, a new air conditioning unit,
right?
And they hadn't paid that bill, so now there's liens. Okay, this happens quite a bit. I don't want buyers to get afraid.
And they do.
When there are liens.
They do. They think they have to pay for it a lot of times. Yeah.
Correct. And that is absolutely not correct. So don't be afraid. Me as the title escrow person, I clear those. Yep. I get a hold of those debt collectors, basically. I request a demand, and those must be paid through escrow. They have to be paid to a zero balance, and they have to release those liens at close of escrow. So you do, as a buyer, have clear title. Now, with UCCs, which are the solar panels, right? Because that is very big now. Almost, I would say 3 out of 5 preliminary title reports have solar panels now. Okay.
Wow.
Depending if, that many, it's a lot. I'm dealing with them constantly now. Basically, if there is still a balance owed, let's say Tesla. Okay. Tesla is a big one for solar companies. You as the buyer, and I'm sure you've explained this or maybe in one of your other episodes, you as the buyer have to take on that loan, right? You have to take it on, you have to assume that loan. Now, sometimes they're paid in full and you don't have to, but I have to reach out to solar companies, obtain what's called a UCC report to be recorded with the county to terminate that lien, because they obviously can't record in the first lien position. Your new loan wants to record in the first lien position.
Right.
So then I have to record it yet again. Obviously, these are additional fees that happen because the UCCs are a little bit more. Our typical recording fees for a document ranges between $42 and $47.
Right.
UCCs range between $60 and $120.
Right.
Okay, so that is the difference. It's not a huge fee, but it's a fee nonetheless. So it's the same. I do it the same exact way. I reach out to the debt collector. We work out however this is going to work. Okay, whether they're assuming a loan or whether it's a cash, where it's already paid off, and I record the documents properly and make sure that there's clear title when we close escrow.
And that's the key. The buyer has to take clear title of the property to be able to own the property, especially if they're financing it, right? Because the lender won't finance on a cloudy title that has these issues on them. So that's really important. And I've explained that to clients, but you explained it way better than I do. So now I'm gonna be like, here, watch Teonne. She's going to explain this way better than I can. So there's so much behind the scenes work, like I talked about earlier, that people don't understand. So I really appreciate you opening their minds and my mind into how much work goes into it, especially when you're doing multiple of these every single week. It's a lot of work. So thank you. And there's a lot of moving parts to these real estate transactions. And I just want to make sure that my clients are better educated and they know the ins and the outs of real estate. It's not a secret. I want them to know, because there's so many steps in the process that unless you do this on a daily basis, you probably will never really get good at it anyway. So, I just want their experience to be better. So thank you for sharing that. I've worked with many investors, military, teachers. I know there's fees, there's escrow fees. I mean, obviously you don't work for free. Nobody wants to work for free. There are fees that are charged. What kind of discounts does Driggs Title offer? What kind of discounts do you offer?
That is a really great question, because Driggs Title offers some great discounts. The discounts are always on my escrow fee. Okay. So the ones, I actually wrote them down here because there are quite a few. So I'm going to read these off to you. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have an investor discount, churches and a nonprofit discount, first responder discount, first time home buyer discounts, investor discounts, military, senior citizens, and teachers. And those are all 25% discounts on my escrow fee. So if it's, let's say, the buyer is a teacher and the seller is a first responder, they each get 25% discount. If only one of them are, though, say just the seller is a church or a nonprofit, or say a first time or no, I guess that wouldn't be it. Military, they would be the only one. The discount doesn't apply to both unless it applies to both.
Okay, cool. No, that's great. If you can save a couple $100, you know, a couple $100 is great, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Good. I love that Driggs supports our educators and military and first responders. It's really nice.
Absolutely.
And kind of, it's a good company. How does the signing process work? Like what happens if it's an out-of-state buyer, or we've had out-of-country buyers on military bases in Japan? I mean, how do they sign their documents, and what type of documents are they signing?
Okay, so this goes back to our technology has changed, right? So a few years ago, we didn't have so many options. If somebody was out of the country, you would have to go to the consulate wherever they are.
Right.
And that was a massive process, right? I mean, it could delay escrow days and days, because sometimes you can't get into the American consulate, and it takes a long time. With the updated technology, and I hate to give COVID any props at all.
Right.
But with COVID happening, we came up with, not we, I should say, the world came up with something called an e-notary, so an electronic notary online. Lenders currently still are not on board with this. Okay, so buyers that are getting a loan, they are not allowed to do these e-notaries. Okay, they still have to sign wet paper, right? Not yet. I'm hoping that at some point we will be able to do this. Okay. Sellers, however, no matter where they are in the world, I have signed a seller, I'm not kidding, in like Dubai, and had them signed, and I had the documents within 45 minutes.
Right.
It's phenomenal.
Wow,
now, if if a buyer is out of town, out of state, that one is a little more difficult. Okay.
Right.
So it's easier now, because I can scan, email original documents to notaries. Whereas before I would have to overnight the documents to the notary. They would have to sign, then they would have to overnight the documents. So it still delayed us a few days, right? Now we don't have to do that. I can email the documents to a mobile notary to wherever they are, and then they can sign them. And then the originals obviously have to be overnighted still. Right. But we're not losing, say, 2 or 3 days, where now we're losing more like a day and a half, maybe. Right. Wow. So, but if that, And then we also offer mobile notary in town, because some people aren't able to leave their homes, or the elderly, or, I mean, quite frank, people are afraid to go out still because of COVID. So we do offer mobile notaries, and then obviously in-office notaries, and I have quite a few offices in town. So we try to accommodate wherever people are.
Yeah, we did an e-notary with a client who wasn't feeling well, and I did not know that was not a thing that was accepted prior to COVID. That's amazing that something so terrible on a society can actually create something that's of a benefit to society. So I guess there are some positives to it, right?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, good. No, that was good. And people can always come into your office and sign as well, right?
Oh, yes, 100%. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, good. That's what I like to do. I like to see you anyway, so it's good.
I know you do. You've always been so great. You always show up for your clients.
If we can, right? We always try to be there. If we got about 8 minutes left before it kicks me off of this thing, so 2 more questions. How does the closing process work, like with the disbursements of funds between the buyer and seller? How do you guys transfer the funds?
Okay, so so it's really the same for both cash buy and financial lending, right? So earnest money comes in, it goes into my escrow account, into your specific file. And then once we fund with your lender, meaning they have received everything that they need, I have everything that I need, they send me the money for your loan. That also goes into the escrow account. Once we record, now I disperse. Okay, obviously there's 80 million steps before that. I audit files, et cetera, et cetera. And then what I do is I pay everybody, basically included with the escrow. So a seller, they either want to pick up a check or they want me to wire their funds. You as a real estate agent, you either want me to send your check in the run. And now a lot of agents are asking me to wire their funds. I make sure that all of the debts are paid, mortgage companies, things like that. A lot of wiring goes out because everybody wants their money now, right? Nobody wants to wait. And then I cut checks and I mail them out, or if you want to come pick up checks at my office, that's always an option as well.
Yeah.
So it's really a simple process on your guys' end, because I try to make it as easy and as convenient for everyone. But once all funds are in, now I can cut checks and wire out funds. It's literally that simple.
Yeah, you do definitely make the process seamless and quick and easy. So I thank you for that. How does the recording work? I know when they got all the documents, you've done the 100 million steps that you have to do to make sure this gets done with the lender and the agents and addendums and leasebacks and deposits. You have all this stuff going on. Now it's all done. How does it get recorded and how long does that take?
Okay, so this is also a very cool technology benefit for us now too. 150 years ago, when I started in escrow, when we recorded documents, we actually had a recorder that would go down to the Clark County Recorder's office downtown. Yeah. And they would pick a numbers, I should say, hundreds of numbers, and stand in line for hours to record all of our documents. Wow. And it was, say there's 60 escrow officers in a title company. You know what I mean? Now we get to do all of this electronically. Okay. So I have what's called a recording package. Mm-hmm. All of the recorded documents, all of the supporting documents that the recorder's office needs I basically have to prove everything that I'm recording. We've done all of the legwork. We've made sure everything's done correctly. All of the names are correct. All of the, parcel numbers and the legal descriptions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is all correct. It goes into a recorder's queue. And they have, I don't know how many recorders technically down at the recorder's office that reviews all of the documents and then says, okay, all of these documents are good. Everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be. You have now recorded. They put a nice little stamp on the right-hand corner of each document that's being recorded. And sometimes, just sometimes, unfortunately, the recorder's office is a little bit of a pain in my you-know-what, and they get really particular. So sometimes it gets kicked back. Sorry, nope, it's rejected. We now need this. Right. And I do everything I can to make that not happen. But sometimes it just depends. It depends on who I get down at the recorder's office, whether they're going to want to, really mess with us today. So I try really hard to not let that happen. It's very, very rare that I get rejections. I'm very careful with things like that. And then also with recording, just so you all know, if I get money past 4 p.m., no matter what day it is, I can't record same day. Right. It has to go the next day. The recorder's office does not accept any recordings past 4 p.m. 5 days a week. And they're all closed on all bank holidays.
Yeah, so, right. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand the banks don't like to work on the weekends very long, or just a little bit on Saturday and every holiday. So, we get jammed up there sometimes. So no, seems like I always tell clients like, hey, they always ask, hey, when am I going to get my keys? I'm like, well, I don't know, but usually by 5 p.m. Right?
Yep.
So
absolutely.
So no, so like in closing, Teonne, what are some other services, title and escrow, that you can provide for people who are not currently purchasing a home, like maybe in a refinance situation or things like that? What else do you guys do?
So we do obviously refinances, home equity lines of credit. We actually have phenomenal rates for those types of things.
Oh, good.
We have what is called our 777 or our 999, depending on how much your loan will be for a refinance. I do some accommodations, say homesteads. Sometimes people want to add a spouse or a daughter to title or things like that. Now, we are kind of cutting down on that a little bit, just because of the liability, and having no insurance that comes along with that. But I like to do that for people that are really in a bind and need to get this done. And sometimes you'll come to me and say, I really need help with this, and I'll do it for you just because it's you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I try to accommodate where I can, and kind of weigh the options of the liability for myself, because it's very important for things to be done correctly. And I don't want to get in trouble, and I always try to do the right thing. But when somebody's in a binder, they really need help, or I try to give at least advice, like this is where you can go to get this done, that are legit companies as well too. Right. So
Good. Okay, Teonne, thanks so much. How can people contact you? Do you have social media? What do you want to leave here for people to get in touch with you?
I do. I have social media. I have Facebook. I don't have Instagram quite yet for my business page, but I do have Teonne Ogden at Driggs Title on Facebook. You can contact me at my office at 702-425-8740. Or you can also email me at teonne@driggstitle.com.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Teonne, thank you so much. There's so much good information in there. People are going to find this very useful. I found this useful because it was a great refresher on everything. So thank you so much. Yep. We will have to do another one again, maybe on the technology. We'll do one on the seller side when we go through our sellers video process series. And I just want to say thank you so much. You've been so great. And I'm sure everything will turn around here in this market here in the near future.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And thank you for inviting me, Jordan. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. And we're back. Thanks, Teonne, for all of your effort and time. You are loved. There are many contingencies throughout the process that protects your deposit. For example, if deal-breaking items are found during the inspection, or if your lender is not able to approve your loan, or if your home doesn't appraise. Most of the time, you can cancel for those reasons and you will receive your earnest money deposit back unless you're paying cash or if you waive your right to those contingencies in your offer. Once you've paid your deposit and paid your home inspection, the next step is the request for repairs. This is a very important step in the home buying process. This is going to give you the opportunity to ask the sellers for any repairs if any items were found during the inspection. This is typically for safety concerns or items that need to be repaired or replaced. This does not give you the opportunity to ask for cosmetic updates or ask for the seller to replace something that is not broken. For example, if you want a new air conditioning unit just because you want one and the current one is working fine, you cannot just ask for that. Once you've submitted your repair request to the seller should respond within the allotted time frame of the due diligence period. Now, the seller has the option to either accept, reject, or counter selected items to be fixed, repaired, or replaced. Another option is receiving a credit for repairs to be credited at closing. The way you approach this process is extremely important. If you ask for too many things or a ton of little things, you could upset the seller and they are more likely to say no to everything. If the seller does not approve all of your requests, you can typically get another opportunity to cancel the contract and receive your earnest money deposit back. Once you get through the repair negotiations, if you are financing, your lender will order your home appraisal. Your lender may require you to pay up front for this. There are several out-of-pocket expenses before closing, including your earnest money deposit, your inspection costs, and your appraisal fees. The appraiser is going to go out to the property and they're going to take photos, they'll verify the square footage, and put together a detailed report. This can take up to a week to get back, and if the home does not appraise for the contract price, your lender may not be able to loan you the full amount. If this happens, this could require more cash at closing, a higher down payment, or the seller to come down on price. If there is not an option that works for you, or if the seller is not willing to budge on the price, the appraisal contingency gives you another option to cancel the contract. Once you are through with inspections and appraisals, you are in the 9th inning. A lot of my clients can get excited at this point because the major steps, they're out of the way. The next step is getting your final loan approval. Your lender is going to ask you for all sorts of documents and signatures to get your final loan approval. It's important to not make any big purchases when trying to purchase a home or open any new lines of credit or add any debt. Always ask your lender before you make any big purchases. Once your lender has your final loan approval, you now get to sign your disclosures and the title company will start preparing your closing documents. I've purchased several homes in my life and I never actually believe it's happening until I'm at the title company signing those documents with the notary, and it's a really exciting day, so congratulations. The title company will reach out to you to schedule your signing. If you are out of state, you can sign with the notary just about anywhere, coffee shops, your house, whatever. Prior to closing, it's important to do a final walkthrough back out at the property you're buying. This gives you the opportunity to ensure the home is in a similar condition and all of the items that convey, like appliances, curtains, curtain rods, that they're still in the home. You will also want to call the utility companies to start transferring electricity, water, gas, and put that into your name. These are just a few of the big steps to prepare you while buying a home. There is a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and it is important to have an experienced team on your side. On your closing day, it's almost impossible to determine what time your property will close, but we like to say before 5 p.m. So you may not want to schedule movers for that day because we don't know the actual time you will be getting your keys. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you can learn more about our team online at doveandassociates.com, and make sure to follow me on Instagram at Jordan Dove Real Estate.